when we came to Thailand, it was our first time traveling with a kid. And we had obviously to figure it out on our own. We didn't really imagine that this will happen in my country. It was a shock for all of us. I didn't want to become a refugee. I didn't believe that this is the way to go. I was pursuing my studies and I just wanted to live like any other person dream, to be able to travel and explore the world, the culture. I always wanted to do something for my own.
Hey Mohammed, welcome to the Nomad Solopreneur Show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure, it's all mine. And please tell me from what corner of the world you're calling.
So I'm calling from Istanbul. It's a beautiful, chaotic city. I'm calling it now home. I'm originally from Syria. So I've been living here in this beautiful country for the past 9 years. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah, for sure. 9 years, it's a lifetime. And we met in a totally different environment. We met in the beautiful country of Thailand a few months ago. How you end up in Thailand?
It's a bit crazy how I ended up in Thailand, because I always had a dream of one day I could travel, because I'm originally from Syria. And probably already it's being everywhere around the news. My country have been suffering civil war for the past 10 years. And since 2011, I was always on the move between countries. I originally grew up in different Middle Eastern countries because of my family work. And I didn't really live in Syria, but we were always living in the Gulf countries. I grew up my childhood in United Arab Emirates, and then I moved to Saudi Arabia. And then I found myself in Turkey to pursue my studies. And there I was following many people who were doing traveling, van life. And this always inspired me to take on my first trip. And I decided to jump on this lifestyle when I was really young. My first trip was in Europe. I decided, even though with the flood of refugees going around, I decided to take the risk and apply anyway. I didn't want to become a refugee. I didn't believe that this is the way to go. I was pursuing my studies and I just wanted to live like any other person dream, to be able to travel and explore the world, the culture. I always had this curiosity to meet people who are different. And my uni time, I was always trying to meet people who are coming to study or exchange. And this made me travel through Europe. Then eventually, years after that, I was lucky and had the opportunity to obtain Turkish citizenship that allowed me to travel to Thailand and make this dream happen.
That's quite a journey, and you're a true globetrotter and a true inspiration, since it's not easy, I assume, to go from a country that was so worn down by wars and to basically grow up in a totally different environment and move that much between countries at a young age. It's always a challenge. I feel like your story needs to be told, and a lot of people, me included, sometimes are not aware about how privileged we are with our situation, that we didn't have to move at a young age to different countries. How that affected your life in general?
It's definitely a challenging experience to come across. When you're moving to a country, first you encounter the different language, different culture, and you have to integrate and try to become part of the culture that you are being in, the place you are. When you are in the country, you have to find a way to make new friends, become more immersed in the culture. But I wanted to stumble upon a little bit on my country and what happened to it. So basically, during 2011, I was there in Syria when the protests started to go on the streets, and I witnessed the first protest, the tanks coming around, and directly my family decided to say that you should move from there and come back to Saudi Arabia. I had this moment of depression when I saw my country going to war, and I'm sure many Syrians had the same feeling. And this is something that we didn't expect because our country was at peace and we were able to go anywhere we want, whenever we want. And we didn't really imagine that this will happen in my country. It was a shock for all of us. And now our country is still there. The same dictator is there, unfortunately. And this allowed many Syrians seek for better opportunities in many countries. And with many challenges, they try to basically find another better life, integrating with the community and the society wherever they go, whether in Europe, whether in Latin America, whether it's in nearby countries like Turkey, or they are everywhere. Syrians are everywhere now. And it's quite nice to see, to be honest, from my point of view, because back then Syrians were more like conservative to their culture and their country and their society and everything. And this changed over time because they had to move to a new country, explore something new, and basically integrate. This allowed many Syrians like myself to be more open-minded into and become more like global citizens instead of like real Syrians. And even though there is this negativity of war, but there is this positive side of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like anything in life, any downside has its good parts, and we can try to make the most out of it. Of course, it's unfortunate that this happened to your country and to your compatriots. But the good part is that some of you, because unfortunately not everyone was so lucky or smart. And here I want to ask you, how are you perceived in Turkey by locals? Are you part of them or they see you as a stranger? Because personally, as a nomad, most of the times I don't feel that I'm part of the place. Locals will always look at you as a foreigner. Is same for you or?
It's hard to put it in words, but basically for me, it was an easier experience. I think because the way I look, unfortunately, because I heard a lot of stories of people saying from like my friends or people I know that have darker skin, they were always associated that they are Syrians or they are from a specific country, and they were treated a bit differently than me because I look very similar to how Turkish people look. So nobody like stopped me in the streets or say anything, because Syrians here, especially in Turkey, were many of them lucky that actually they came to a country which is safe. The borders were open back then. There was no visa, but many of them have this documentation problem that they are treated as guests. So they giving this temporary protection because basically they have a really bad passport. Syrians have the worst passport in the world. They can't move anywhere they want. And most of the countries, they don't really welcome any Syrians because it's very political problems everywhere for them. So they have this document that they can't travel out of the city. So it makes them very difficult for them to move anywhere easily. So for these people had no choice, basically. They had to figure it out in a way to integrate with the culture, with the society, learn the language, learn Turkish. For many people who managed to learn the language, it was much better treatment because Turks by general are very proud of their culture, their identity, their language, their food. And luckily also Syrians and Turkish have a long history. We have similar tradition and culture and also food. So more or less, it was easier to integrate in the culture and society than I would say other countries. But at the same time, there is many challenges that I have personally faced, but also other Syrians in the country. It's never easy. You have to always see the positives and the negatives of everything.
For sure. And what was your biggest challenge and biggest lesson from this transition, becoming a Turkish citizen?
It's a relief because I was under the temporary protection and I couldn't move anywhere. So I had this dream of traveling and becoming like a digital nomad, being able to work online and travel the world, but I couldn't do it because I had this temporary protection that I couldn't move anywhere. I had this card, it's like from paper with plastic cover on it. And this card basically allowed me to stay only in one city. I was able only to stay in Istanbul. So I couldn't even go to any other cities, but I was going anyway, like taking the risk and trying to use my luck, basically discover the country I'm in. I didn't want to just stop this dream from happening. And before I had another card for students. So that's allowed me, it was easier for me to go to Europe, apply for a visa, even though my country had a problem, and be able to move in Europe a little bit, visit some relatives. But after it, because our consulate was closed, I couldn't renew my passport and I didn't have the option to go to another country. So I had to make another card, which is this temporary protection that really didn't allow me to move freely. And when I had the Turkish citizenship, it was a relief. I decided to make the dream happen and book my one-way ticket to Thailand. And before I had the Turkish citizenship, I was always trying to build the lifestyle that I wanted. I worked hard to basically find an online job. I was reading books, learning, educating myself constantly because I want this to happen. And as you said before, it just doesn't happen to you. You have to make it happen. So yeah, I didn't imagine I will have the citizenship. And because my documents were really delayed, many of my colleagues had it already, even my brother, but it was delayed year after year and I almost lost hope. But because just like thought about it, somehow many people say about this book called The Secret, or this concept, when you want something to happen, you believe it and you surround yourself around it. I didn't believe it before, but somehow it really works. I'm not this person of like expecting anything or, oh, you have to think about it or this self-motivation thing, but it really works. Yeah, it really worked for me.
I'm so happy for you that you eventually managed to get that, and it was such a relief. And thanks to it, we managed to meet face to face in Thailand. And there I was even able to see one of the learnings that you had during this period, like how to make friends in a foreign country. Remember that we attend this wine tasting event, and I was with a group of friends, and you were sitting alone next to us. And you took the first step to chat with us, and that's how we became friends. And as they say, the rest is history. And that's the beauty of struggle. You get so many learnings, you get so much experience on dealing with different scenarios and so on. And apart from that, I know that even that at that particular event you were alone, I know that you didn't travel alone. And this is a subject a lot of our listeners might be interested in, since I get a lot of questions. How to travel with kids, how to travel with a family as a nomad. And you're an example. Can you share a bit how you make it happen? Because it's also a young little girl. So how you manage to travel with her?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy and it's definitely different than when you are traveling alone. I tried to solo traveling before to Europe with a backpack, like packing my stuff very light and try to hitchhiking, doing work away and couch surfing and all this kind of low budget traveling. I was really into it and I was lucky to meet a person, my partner now, who's also have similar mindset. She's also a traveler. She's originally from Ukraine, so we met in Istanbul. And yeah, like she liked to travel. I like to travel. And we have the same mindset. I think this is very important when two people have the same mindset of like they want to achieve and the dream life. You want to explore, meet people. We both have this in common. And when we had our baby, we said, okay, we don't want this to stop us. It definitely changed our lifestyle. When you have a kid, it's a different kind of beauty of life. It gives you another kind of happiness that you can't experience until you really have it. And we decided, even though it's difficult and hard to travel with a baby, and it's our first time doing it, especially when we came to Thailand, it was our first time traveling with a kid. And we had obviously to figure it out on our own. We read a lot of books, we read of a lot of people who with a similar experience. And yeah, we just went with the flow. We saw what's okay, what's not okay. We were arranging our time. Basically, we arranged the exploring time when the baby is more active rather than when she's like tired or sleepy. We take it easy. we just go with her schedule, not our schedule, basically.
That's definitely not easy. And how do you manage to work in the same time and network? Because I know that you also participate to quite a lot of networking events.
So I think the most important thing is being aware of what kind of work you should do, because I think the kind of job that you're doing will affect the rest, whether you're networking, whether you're exploring. I had a remote job, but that remote job wasn't actually remote before. So before I moved from Turkey to Thailand to travel, I basically decided just to book the ticket and take the risk and put my company on the spot. I told them that my work can be done online. I'm doing that. I was a digital marketing consultant at that time, and all my meetings was online, and I didn't need to attend an office. They have still, unfortunately, this kind of mentality that you have to go to the office to meet your colleagues, all this commute. And I hated it. I didn't want to do that. And also I had a kid. I know I wanted to be more with my family. First thing, I put boundaries between me and my company from the first time, like when the hiring went through. I said I want to be working from home. This is the first step. And then next, it was more easy because I was already working, not from an office. I was working from home online. So everything I was doing is online, meetings, everything. And then when I went to Thailand, it was much easier because of the time zone too. So I arranged the meetings in the evening after I do all the exploring, me and my wife and my kid. So I came back and worked. So all the day was free basically for us. And with the networking, I was just going to the network event that fits my time schedule. So I had to arrange my time that are okay with my working time too. So this is how I managed.
Yeah, you make it work. And I love the fact that even that you had a full-time job, you managed to set boundaries with the company, something that many don't think about that is possible. But how did you end up quitting that job and starting your own business?
So I always had this entrepreneurship mindset. I think because of the books I've read over the past years, I always wanted to do something for my own. And slowly I was always trying to figure it out, watching videos or reading books. And even during my full-time job, I was trying to build my freelance business. I was always taking extra work, either through the weekends or on vacation. So when there is a day off, I didn't want to have it off. I like to work. If it brings food to the table, I do it. So this is the kind of mindset that I wanted to follow. So during the time that I was working online, I built a website. I started to implement the learning I was doing, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning. It's definitely a process that never ends.
That's for sure, because all our life we do the same thing. We learn and we still don't know everything. And speaking of this learning process and finding your way through reading books, watching videos, how did you manage to learn in a way that is not distracting? How do you filter the information in a way to make sure it's useful for your goal?
It's very difficult, to be honest. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I still struggle with it. I find myself a lot, especially with social media, the amount of content is like endless that you can consume. But I found an easier route to follow is basically learning through doing. So just start implementing and do the work that you need to do that fit the goals and things you want to do or achieve, whether it's in your business or in freelancing, whatever. And then when you want to do something, you don't know how to do it. You search for it and consume the content of learning that you want to do to achieve that. So that's route. I find it much more fulfilling and make me to also achieve the thing that I couldn't achieve before. And I usually I dedicate some time, especially at night before going to sleep, for consuming content. I'm a content creator myself. I like to create content. I've been doing it for many years already. And I like to consume other kind of content, but I try as much as I can not to fall through the rabbit hole of consuming a lot of content. You have to put time for yourself to be able to do the work that you need to do to achieve the goal that you put for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Because as you said, especially on social media, the content is endless. And if you start scrolling, you scroll. And speaking of content creation, can you please expand a bit of that? What type of content you create and why did you choose to become a content creator?
So, as I told you, I enjoy traveling. I always had the dream to travel, and my partner too. So, I'm creating personal content for my own channel. It's about travel. I want to continue doing that. Hopefully, one day this bring me some money too. Let's see how it goes. But for now, I'm doing it for the fun of it. I just enjoyed it. But this led me to make this also my profession and implement on my business. So I also create content for clients because my profession originally is very different. You'll be shocked if I told you I'm originally like a gastronomy student. So I studied food and
Wow.
I was planning to become a chef. I enjoyed food a lot, so I was learning how to become one. So I studied that for 4 years. And I tried to work in restaurants. I tried to work in hotels, and I didn't see that lifestyle fits me because it's very hard. It requires you to be physically very well. It's a lot of stress. And I found not is the lifestyle that I wanted to build. So I transitioned to something else that can be done remotely specifically. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm helping people to create content worldwide.
Can you please expand a bit on the type of content that you create for yourself and for clients?
Sure. So most of the time I try to follow trends because this is like what usually social media algorithms always change, and you have to keep up to date to what's going on and what can get like the traction. So now the most of social media platforms are focused on short form videos, short form content. And especially with the uprising of TikTok, other social media platforms have tried a lot to implement this kind of strategy to focus on short form content. And this is basically, I followed the other social media platform and shifted from only photos and static photos to create content on like video content, more educational, entertaining, that can hopefully educate the community, the society I'm in. So I create content in Arabic on the purpose of educating the Arab world on other cultures, other countries, other things that are out there. Yes, so this is what I enjoy doing. But for clients, I work with them on making testimonial videos or cutting some short form videos from their webinars or courses or whatever it can be that fits that build awareness for the audience. So this is what I'm doing at the moment.
It's something beautiful about your work to educate Arabic world about other cultures, about the digital nomad lifestyle. What led you to do this, and what are your goals with that journey?
So I started making content about traveling at the beginning, but then I saw how you can actually be able to travel, but at the same time make a living. And this is something that I wasn't aware of before. I was doing it, but I wasn't aware that it's really possible until I stumbled upon like people who are already doing it through LinkedIn or through other social media platforms. And I decided like, okay, I want to travel, but I want also to make a living while doing that. I don't want to commute to office. I want to be with my family. I want to explore more. And therefore I said, okay, the digital nomad lifestyle is something that's very interesting and fits my goals. Maybe not being on the move constantly, but being more like a slow mad and travel slow, especially with family. And I stumble upon like different like websites and platforms like Nomad Lists, and this allowed me to meet many people and learn about the lifestyle. And the learning that I'm basically doing from meeting all the people and doing the learning myself, I implemented and transform it to be content. So I re-educate and or basically teach it for people who are following me, but in Arabic. So my ultimate goal from this is not just to create content, but I'm hoping that I want to build a community of Arab digital nomads. And this is what I'm starting to work on. And this hopefully will become more like a business, more of something that can bring extra income to the table. So a community of digital nomads, Arabic speaking digital nomads, because we don't have many resources out there. I want to be the person who's making this happen and bringing all the resources out there that's in English available also to the Arab world, and also put my learning to it or my experience to it too.
What I love about it is that you found an opportunity here and mix it with a passion of yours of creating content and put all those together to not only build a business at some points around it, but in the same time to leave your mark, to leave your legacy on educating and being the first to do something. And this is how the world comes together, and learning about other cultures and going global. It's wonderful. And I wonder, why do you think it's such a lack of resources in Arabic language when it comes to digital nomadism, to working online?
I think it's a very new concept. It's the boom obviously started of remote work when COVID happened. Many companies in the Arabic country specifically had to transition to remote work eventually. But still, it's a new concept because not many companies are okay with remote work and not okay with you not being physically in the country too. So it's very new to many Arabic countries. They know remote work because of COVID, but they are not familiar with the term digital nomads. So there is still some confusion around this. And I've looked it up. There is not really many resources. There are speaking about remote work, but not necessarily the lifestyle of being able to travel. It's usually digital nomadism associated with just being an entrepreneur who are able to work online, but not a remote worker that can become a digital nomad, or not a freelancer or a person who's owning a solopreneur like yourself. These terms are still not very popular. There are few people who are speaking about it. So I want to be also in this world, trying to bring this to more popularity.
Indeed, these terms are interchanging, but in their own sense, they are so different. And especially a digital nomad can be both a remote worker, both a self-employed, an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, freelancer, whatever. And there's this misconception that a digital nomad is someone that travels on the budget with their backpack only, and they just do that fast traveling, like few nights in one place and move to the next. But in reality, majority of digital nomads are traveling slowly, a few months in one place, and they travel between communities, and they don't necessarily go to the popular touristic places. Of course, some of them like Thailand and Bali are also famous for tourism, but it's just a coincidence because, for example, you won't find most digital nomads you won't find on the islands in Thailand. You'll find in Chiang Mai in the middle of the jungle. Same in Bali, you won't find them on the beach with the exception of Canggu. You'll find them in Ubud or in other places. But apart of this, what other misconception you encounter when it comes to digital nomading?
I think that for me, from my experience, the digital nomad term was always associated with a person who's traveling nonstop. And this in action was not very reliable or something easy to do, especially if you're working. You want to settle in, you want to have some time to get yourself immersed in the culture and the place where you are, have your comfortable area to be able to really focus on the things that you're doing. And I think the term digital nomad can be associated most of the time with constant movement. And I think that's not true. I saw many people who are doing this lifestyle, they prefer to stay for several months in a place before moving to the next one. And this is more easier to be done, and it makes you also understand and the place where you are, because you can't just assume that staying in a week in a city will let you understand the people that you surround yourself with, or try the food, or experience things that you want to experience. So I'm trying to bring digital nomadism more aware to the Arabic speaking people, but I don't want this misconception to be associated with this lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even remember how many people I met that are actually traveling fast. Those that I met are not digital nomads. They are simply explorers. They are on a sabbatical or something, and they explore without working, without having a job or their own business, because you cannot do much if you just explore all the time, move fast between places, and especially like you do with a kid, it's impossible. And there are particular ways in which you choose the destination that you want to go to, or how you go about it when it comes to choosing a place to visit.
To be honest, when I search for a place, I usually go by watching YouTube videos first. Try to learn about it, and if this something interests me, then I usually base my choice on that at the start. It's very simple, I know. There is no complicated way of doing it for myself, but if it really brings the curiosity in me, then okay, this is a choice, a potential choice. For Thailand, let's say why I chose Thailand. Basically, I heard a lot about Thailand from other friends, but I didn't really imagine how it looked like. But then when I looked it up, I was really like, okay, this is a must place to visit, especially like after reading about digital nomadism. I heard about Chiang Mai, and I said I definitely need to visit Chiang Mai because it's like it's the capital of digital nomads. How can I just go there? And the community there is amazing. So it was a must for me to at least come and visit this city. Yeah, and rest is history.
Yeah, that's a nice way to search for it. And personally, I do for some places the same. I literally watch a few YouTube videos about that place to see if, like you, like grab my interest, or there is something that maybe I should be aware of. For example, if I want to be familiarized with the culture there, to not make some stupid mistakes, because in certain countries, different hand sign can mean something else than normally do in yours or something like that. And various other things that you need to be aware of to not go about as disrespectful to the locals or similar things like that. And speaking of videos, and since it's such a popular topic right now of creating videos for social media, I want to challenge you to create an actionable step-by-step process for those listening that maybe are not familiar with advanced editing tools or probably technical savvy, to be able to create decent video that they are proud to put it on social media.
Many people I hear struggle with, and to be honest, it's very simple. Few steps that people can follow is basically starting on using any kind of tool to note out ideas of the type of content they want to create. After that, they write the topics, the kind of topics that they want to talk about and educate their audience. So I personally use an app called Notion. You just grab the topic, and it's make it easier for you to organize your ideas and divide it into categories. And with the rise of AI, it's become really easier than ever to produce ideas if you are struggling, and just get an idea of or few what kind of content you can want to create, or the topics you can brainstorm with the help of AI. It's easier than ever before. And then after that, after writing the topic, I dedicate time to write scripts of each idea I picked. And usually it's easier with scripts, because if you are not very confident in front of the camera, it's easier to read from a script. But if you have this confidence in you, And you can speak in front of the camera. You can just write some outlines, few outline of the thing that you want to talk about. And regarding editing after filming, I use a free app called DaVinci Resolve. I recommend everyone to use it. It does need a learning curve to be able to implement it, but if you can't edit with it, you can use some other apps on the mobile phone like CapCut or InShot, for example. And they have already like everything that you need, basically like titles, some basic motion graphics that you can add. And also other app that's only on iPhone, I really recommend. That's for this fancy captions. It's called Captions. It allows you to have cool animated captions on your video, especially for short form. And it's very easy. You just put your video and let the AI take the work for you. And for publishing, usually like if you are on Facebook or Instagram, you can use the free scheduling tool for business Meta, where it allows you to schedule the content in advance. This easier because it allows you to have a free of mind from planning and posting every day. You just do it like the dedicate few days to schedule, and yeah, it's automatically. So after scheduling, you're good to go. It's just will be mostly about using analytics and seeing what's working and what's not working for your content, and basically focus on the things that's working, the kind of content that's working for you, and for what's interests the audience more, and create content around that, and just take down the things that's not working.
Thank you so much for sharing this step-by-step process. And one thing that surprised me is how easy it is in reality to create content. But we often overthink it. We often think that we need to be expert. And as you mentioned, those easy app on the phone to use it if you don't want to learn DaVinci Resolve or other advanced tools. You can do it very easily.
I want to add something also. Like if you are a busy person that don't have time to edit, you can always, hire someone to edit for you remotely, and you just focus on the content, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. And on that note, I wanted to ask you, where can people find you in order to work with you?
I'm happy to do that. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can reach me just by sending a message. And you can also check my website. I'm sure Gabe will leave it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Now, to wrap up things, it's your time to create a challenge for our listeners, one they can complete in 24 hours only.
But there is something I would like to share that I think it helped me a lot in changing my mindset. And I think mindset is very important in terms of improving the kind of lifestyle that you want to reach in the future. And for me, the challenge would be for everyone in 24 hours to find an event and go network with people. I think networking is a skill that led me a lot of opportunities, and it's definitely something that's very important for people to do, especially if you are not an extrovert, if you are an introvert. If you're hearing this podcast, please go and find the next event that's happening, whether it's using Facebook events or there are scout surfing. There are some Eventbrite also, I believe, that share events happening. Could be a conference, could be just a basic food gathering or anything. This is how me and Gabe met. I basically looked for some events and found this event, and I went alone. I didn't have any person with me. I know it can be difficult for many people, but just take it easy. People out there are like you. Even if they are with other people, they really appreciate when you go on and with a smile and introduce yourself. It's very simple. Don't complicate it. Don't overthink it. Just go on, meet people and make connections. You never know. I'm here in a podcast because I just attend an event. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I cannot sustain that enough. I think networking is probably one of the most underrated way to be open to opportunities, since you never know who is at that event, what they are doing, how they can help you, or how you can help them. And it's such an underrated way. And for those listening, I know that a lot of our listeners are from LinkedIn, and you see the power of networking online. Imagine that the power of networking face to face is exponentially higher because the trust is higher. You met a person face to face, you shake that person's hand. Like, it's a trust and a connection that it's beyond just a screen. In a remote world, face to face will still be the number one way to connect at a deeper level with someone. So do the challenge, find that event in the next 24 hours, and let us know how that went. And it's just being open to opportunities.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing all these things with us. And again, you're such an inspiration. We went from Syrian refugee to building your own business in a different country, getting a new citizenship, traveling the world now, building a family. It's such an unbelievable story, and can't wait to share it with everyone.
Thank you very much, Gabe. It was a pleasure, and thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to check the show notes where you'll find direct links to the tools and resources mentioned in this episode, and much more. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast station to not miss when we drop the next one. We have lots of exciting guests and surprises for you coming up. This is your host, Gabe Marusca, with the Nomad Solopreneur Show. Until next week, pura vida!